Today we're talking about some long-forgotten flicks you can currently watch for free right here on YouTube, including a highly underrated Val Kilmer sci-fi flick, a truly mind-bending horror movie, several epic battles, Kevin Costner's second best Western movie, and a lot more. Thanks to Delete Me for sponsoring another video, but let's get started with a highly underrated Val Kilmer sci-fi flick about a mission to Mars titled Red Planet. This also stars Carrie-Anne Moss and Tom Sizemore before he lost his mind. And it's set a little bit further in the future. This isn't quite like a realistic mission to Mars, by the way. Also free on YouTube right now is Mission to Mars, a pretty decent Mars movie, but I prefer Red Planet. Things seemed pretty straightforward for about the first half of the movie, and then they discover there's actually something going on Mars that they didn't know about. Nothing too outrageous or really even that far-fetched. On top of that, there's a rogue AI robot that kind of crawls around like a cougar. It's cool stuff. If you've been enjoying the new Owen Wilson show, Stick, over on Apple TV, it might be a good time to revisit one of his best action movies with Behind Enemy Lines. He didn't do things in this genre too much, but Behind Enemy Lines I think is a total banger, especially for a PG-13 action movie. It doesn't feel nearly as neutered as PG-13 action movies tend to feel. It's got a slightly harder edge to it anyway. Some pretty cool visuals as well, and just, an exciting story. There's not actually too much to it. It's pretty thin. Like, he's a pilot, he gets trapped behind enemy lines. Gene Hackman is on an aircraft carrier trying to get him back out. Solid flick, exciting stuff. But let's dial the clock way back to one of the original disaster films that actually stars Paul Newman and Steve McQueen in The Towering Inferno. Now, The Poseidon Adventure is one of my favorite disaster movies from this era. I mention it on this channel probably too often, but The Towering Inferno kind of comes in at a close second. It's a very similar movie. As you can imagine, it's a building on fire. They actually loosely remade this with The Rock. That one was titled Skyscraper, and while I did think that movie was exciting, the original Towering Inferno is an awesome throwback disaster flick. I mean, this is the movie that basically started disaster movies. And even though some of the stuff's pretty campy today, this still holds up as one of the better ones. You still got my top recommendations coming up, but before that, I want to tell you how today's sponsor, Delete Me, has been helping me protect my personal data. Unfortunately, pretty much everyone's personal data, including your name and address, is being sold online by data brokers. What's worse is anyone can purchase that data, and having your personal details out there on an open marketplace like that opens you up to harassment, identity theft, stalking, also making you a prime target for phishing scams. But you have the right to protect yourself and stay private. To do that, you would have to contact all of those data brokers repeatedly until you could confirm that they removed your data, something that would take countless hours. Well, it's not actually countless. Delete Me will show you how many hours you actually saved in your monthly report. You can also see the sites they're actively removing you from and the ones you've been cleaned from completely. And the best part is, it was super simple to set up. It only took about 5 minutes, I think less. And now I just get that quarterly report. I also get less junk in my email inbox, and my phone doesn't ring from telemarketers all day. My viewers can save 20% off Delete Me's consumer plans when you go to joindeleteme.com/flick and use my code FLICK at checkout. Delete Me can even help protect your entire family with a family plan. Again, save 20% off when you go to my link in the video description, or just visit joindeleteme.com/flick and use my code FLICK at checkout. I highly recommend protecting yourself this way. Speaking of things I highly recommend, let's get to the top movies on this list. Now, we already had a Paul Newman flick on this list, and my next movie is not a Paul Newman flick, but legend has it that Paul Newman put Tom Cruise into a NASCAR, and he had such a wild ride that he wanted to bring that same experience to movie theater audiences, inspiring him to produce Days of Thunder, like a route he is still taking to this day with the Mission Impossible movies. And Days of Thunder isn't nearly as wild as like action movies of today, but it's considerably wilder than even Top Gun, a movie he did just a few years prior that has a lot in common with Days of Thunder. If you're a fan of Top Gun and you've somehow never seen Days of Thunder, you've got to watch it. Even if you've never had any interest in NASCAR whatsoever, This is just a wild, exciting movie from 1990. And yeah, it's Tom Cruise, but he's competing against Michael Rooker, who's way more famous today than he was when this movie came out. Just another reason this movie's maybe better today than it was when it originally released. Next up, we've got War of the Worlds, but it's not the Tom Cruise version, even though that is available on YouTube for free right now. And I do like that movie. I think it's kind of an awesome Steven Spielberg movie. They maybe flubbed the story a little bit, keeping it from like perfection, but the original is still a perfect sci-fi movie. Released in 1953, this movie's older than my father and is still just a joy to watch. It's also accessible, like you could watch this with your kids. I mean, obviously the concept of aliens coming to the Earth and just destroying a lot of stuff is pretty terrifying, but it's a fun watch. Like, the special effects are all kind of campy, but they look great for visual effects from the 1950s. Like, don't get me wrong, they don't look real, but they're good looking. And it's just a classic story that was just incredibly well done, again, for 1953. I mean, for this movie to still be as entertaining as it is in 2025, it's pretty impressive. My next pick on this list is a Mel Gibson flick I haven't seen available on streaming in forever, and it's one of the better movies to depict the Vietnam War ever released, maybe second to Platoon. We Were Soldiers. Now, this is about one of the first battles, if not the first battle in the Vietnam War, and it's a big, prolonged, multi-day battle, and the movie just depicts it really well. They show some stuff back at home mixed in as well, but the movie depicts a lot of combat. I mean, this is like the Saving Private Ryan of the Vietnam War. Shot incredibly well, a bunch of great characters, even if some of them are a little bit cliched at this point. It just still makes for a great war movie. A lot of carnage though, like I said, it's the Saving Private Ryan of the Vietnam War. It's brutal, but also just a harrowing war story. I'll also mention Ransom is available on YouTube for free right now. That is a great thriller. Like, it has held up better than you would expect. You could put that on today. I mean, it looks like a movie that just came out recently. It's a fantastic thriller that, honestly, I probably should have put on the list. If We Were Soldiers has too much carnage for you, but you're still interested in a historical drama, they don't get a whole lot better than The Right Stuff. Now, this is a long movie. It kind of drags, but if you're the least bit interested in the story, it's an amazing movie. It's the story of the first men in space, and it's a long journey from them being test pilots all the way to being the first men into outer space. Each of the men is played by really great actors. You've got Sam Shepard playing Chuck Yeager, Scott Glenn as Alan Shepard, Ed Harris as John Glenn, Dennis Quaid as Gordon Cooper, and Fred Ward as Gus Grissom. The movie's over 3 hours long, but also just a top-notch flick from 1983. Like, easily one of the best movies released that year. It, too, still holds up today, which is why it's ranked so high on this list. Now, right here is where I would have inserted the movie The Grey, starring Liam Neeson. It is available for free on YouTube, but it's a good opportunity to mention that it's the broadcast version. That means the version that's been edited for TV. YouTube has some of those peppered in. Usually you're lucky enough to see it say broadcast version like it does with The Grey right now, but it doesn't always, so just be aware those are mixed in sometimes, but I watch these movies with regularity and rarely come across one. Which is great, because the next 4 on this list have a hard R rating, starting with my next pick, easily the greatest movie ever made about the game of poker, Rounders. The movie starts off with a stellar cast with Matt Damon, Ed Norton, and John Malkovich. Oh, and John Turturro has like an amazing character in this movie. He's not in it much, but his character is, I think, my favorite in the whole movie. Just an absolute killer movie about the world of poker. I mean, Matt Damon did this not long after Good Will Hunting, and it's a somewhat similar character.
You were looking for that third 3, but you forgot that Professor Green folded it on 4th Street, and now you're representing it. You have it. The DA made his two pair, but he knows they're no good here. And Mr. Eisen is just futilely hoping that his queens are gonna stand up.
And this is one of my favorite movies he's ever done, and he's done some amazing movies, but this is another one. Just like everything else on this list, it holds up so much better than you would think. If this is a movie you liked at one point, but it's maybe been 10 years since you've seen it or more, well worth revisiting. It's loaded with so many great scenes and great one-liners. It's just a fantastic flick. Now, my number 3 pick on this list is a movie I absolutely love, but you wouldn't exactly call this a good movie, at least not in the traditional sense. It's one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's more silly movies, and my God, I just absolutely love Commando. I mean, this movie is ridiculous and silly from the opening credit sequence. Arnold is walking around with, tree trunks with one hand. Him and his daughter, played by Alyssa Milano, they're like feeding deer out of their bare hands. Just silly stuff. The movie's scored with like steel drums. Like that's all you hear the whole movie are steel drums. It's got a cool sound to it, but they like actually marketed the soundtrack for this. I mean, the movie's crazy. It's filled with some silly flubs like the yellow Porsche he flips over that suddenly has not a scratch on it. But the real reason to watch this movie is the climax. Insane kill count, just ridiculous kills he has in this movie, and it is like, I cannot believe they did that at this time. They fully embraced how weird this movie gets when they made it, and it's just awesome. Like, it's been parodied. It almost plays out like a parody itself, but it rides the line between being a parody and just an all-out awesome action movie. It's like practically both at the same time, making it like it hits a sweet spot. Very few movies that try to do this can hit. Somehow Commando nails it, and it's still a wild, fun watch today. My next 2 picks, though, are considerably more serious, starting with one of the best westerns ever directed by Kevin Costner, Open Range. Now, Dances with Wolves is arguably like his best movie and best western, but I'm partial to Open Range. Now, this movie, I will warn you, is pretty slow. It takes quite a while getting in. In fact, most of it is just very slowly building up to its big climax, which also has a big body count, just like Commando. In fact, the end of this movie is like the western version of Commando, yet it's much more grounded. It's all built upon this story that does take quite a while to build up. You've also got Robert Duvall doing a really great role. There's some great villains in this movie and just stunning cinematography. I mean, honestly, there's not been a lot of really good westerns made in the 21st century so far. This came out in 2003. It's still one of the best. And then my number 1 pick on this list is an amazing historical drama directed by the legend Ridley Scott with Kingdom of Heaven. Now, this was his big historical drama follow-up to Gladiator. Wasn't necessarily his next movie, but his next movie like this, and it came out to somewhat mixed reviews. It's actually missing big portions of the story, and that's because the director's cut of this film is 30 minutes longer than this version here. Now, unfortunately, I don't see the director's cut available on streaming anywhere right now, but the original version is still a solid movie and 30 minutes shorter. Breathtaking cinematography. I mean, there's so much more in this movie than there was in Gladiator, which is partially why it doesn't work as well. This version, rather, has too much cut out of it to make it work nearly as well as the director's cut, but it's just a breathtaking movie based on the Crusades. I would say if you start watching this and you get into it and maybe want to explore that director's cut, it may be well worth buying, but if you've never seen Kingdom of Heaven, my goodness, this is just an epic flick. We don't get movies like this that often anymore, and for good reason, man. These things are expensive, it looks expensive, but as far as movies like this go, Kingdom of Heaven is one of the better ones. You know, movies with big historical battles and everything. Even though this one's missing some steps, it's a lot better than a lot of other things in this genre tend to be, which is why it's my number 1 pick. Here is a quick recap of the list, along with other streaming services currently hosting these same titles. But they won't stay that way forever, so be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you have and you got a recommendation off this list, definitely leave me a like. It does help the channel out. Don't forget to visit joindeleteme.com/flick to get 20% off and start protecting yourself today. Thanks for checking out this YouTube episode, and you will see me on the next one.